Yes, you is.
No, I ain't. Welcome to the barn with Bear and Biscuits.
Independent.
That guy sucks. That guy's terrible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit him, but it fits me.
Yeah. That was dull.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, thank you. Thank you to everybody for being here. With all the hand gestures, they're tremendous. You look like a seal. Arr, arr, arr. All right.
Bear seal.
Come on, you got hair to braid.
I know.
Yeah.
We gotta get down
There's
to
a
business.
12-year-old who's waiting on us.
Yeah.
Jay Johns asked, psychological preparedness for SHTF. Our thoughts. I have notes. You don't.
No.
You had no idea what we were going to talk about, which is my usual when I do videos with people. I like to get people's immediate response. Immediate response. So, I'm a reader, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big reader.
I read all the books, all of them. It's tremendous. So, I think there's certain books that are good to read and retain for psychological preparedness. I think overall, we, us, me, you, everybody just needs to harden up because we live in a pretty easy time right now. And I think that it's very easy to think, oh, yeah, man, of course the world's going to end. You know, this just sucks. It's like, yeah, there's facets of it that really do suck. There's facets of it that are incredible. This is incredible, right? So,
being able to go to the grocery store and pick up your food
right,
is incredible.
hop in your car and just go somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Those little things are what
Yeah.
all too often take for granted.
Take for granted. So, doing things the hard way now, I think, is a great way to prepare yourself psychologically. Can I use the wood splitter? Yes. I'm gonna split it with a maul anyway. Could I rent a backhoe? Yes. I'm gonna dig the hole by hand because. Could I take my deer to the butcher and have it processed? Yes, but I'm gonna do it anyway with my own knife because I need to know how to do it when it counts. That's really sharp. I just poked myself in the ass cheek with it. It's a flesh wound. So, right? This is why we train. Knife hands.
Don't accidentally poke yourself when you're taking it.
Ah! So, yeah. So, but I think all that contributes to psychological preparedness. But getting back to those books, reading and retaining, I think first and foremost, the Bible has kind of withstood the test of time.
Yeah.
I mean, #1 best-selling book ever. So there's life lessons in there. There's obviously spirituality lessons in there. There's child raising in there. There's interpersonal relationships between man and woman, woman and man and tribe, men and other men, women and other women. Like, that's all covered in there. How to conduct yourself in the face of adversity and hardship is addressed repeatedly in there. And as I've said many times, that book has been studied from a military perspective, a tactical strategic perspective for millennia. So it's a good book to know. Probably the best book to know in my opinion. I'm also reading 12 Rules for Life right now by Jordan Peterson. Say what you want about Jordan Peterson, the man is smart. And just because he may not be the ideal voice for our movement, he's smart. Nietzsche wasn't exactly a great guy, but he said a lot of things that are good to know, make sense, right? So forth and so on. So the 12 Rules for Life, I think, speak to a lot of the, ultimately, this is my fault. Whatever the issue is, I need to take responsibility, take ownership, address the situation, start with me first. And I think that from a psychological hardiness, sturdiness standpoint, it's good to know that you can affect change on yourself much better than somebody else or the situation around you. You can start with you. And to that end, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink is another book that's really good as far as understanding that you are your own worst enemy, you are your biggest problem, and you need to take control of you first. You know, it's the log in your eye, the plank in your eye versus the speck in your brother's eye. Start with the plank in your eye first. So, and then the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, which you've seen my copy of.
Yeah.
It's,
and you've read over and over again.
I pretty much just read it in a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's one that I want to point out called Justice.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know, I can't remember who it's by. It's some professor, some Harvard professor. But the whole book is a play on scenarios that it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
But within those scenarios, it really makes you look inside yourself and reflect on how you believe and how you would react. And I think as far as like a psychology standpoint, it could really get your gears turning and help you kind of sort through different feelings you have in here. So
that's a really good point.
I really liked that book.
I think that plays to another aspect, which I do constantly, and I think a lot of us do consciously or unconsciously, subconsciously, as preppers, self-reliant individuals, of the what if game. If this, then this.
Right.
What if this happens? What would I do? How would I feel? How would I react? What if that happens? You know, and psychologically, that book is a good exercise in that it makes you think about, well, how would I respond? And that's a good game to play with your group as well.
Yeah.
Your group of people that, hey, are we all on the same page here? Because my protocol is somebody crashes the gate, I'm shooting through the windshield until the vehicle stops. Now, if that's not your protocol, or it's Granny Smith from up the road and Granny blew the gate, now what do? Do I know that it's Granny?
Right.
That sucks, but ultimately I have to treat it as a threat. I don't know who's behind the wheel until the vehicle stops. Hey, you just shot Granny Smith 14 times. Mm-hmm. Granny shouldn't have crashed the gate. Now, am I the jerk? Or is Granny the jerk? Like, where does that land?
And that's, like, that scenario is the book Justice. Like, it plays through all sorts of scenarios like that. And
you mean Justice for All? Where Jason Newsted was not in the mix at all as the bass player?
No. Stop. But it's a good book. So,
Landmine has taken my... Sorry.
Shush.
It's a good book. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I also think that it's really important to understand what your sense of purpose is. Why are you doing the things that you're doing? And that can be a really amorphous, gelatin-like thing for some people, just this blob of a concept, and it's good to put a good sharp point on that. I do this so that my wife and my children are protected. I do this because it gives me spiritual fulfillment to follow the calling that the Father has laid out for me. I do this because I feel an onus to help my fellow man. I do this because. So when your convictions are questioned or when the hard things happen, you don't have to stop and think about, well, oh, woe is me, why am I doing this? It's that idea of a higher purpose in life, that it's not about me. The problems start with me, and most of them end with me, but it's not about me. It's about how I fit into this cycle of fulfillment of what the Father's plan is for my life, which is for me, stewardship of you and the kids and tribe and community and Patreon and farther out in these concentric circles. So understanding what your sense of purpose is and how you live that out, I think informs the situation that when things get sideways, you don't sit around and feel sorry for yourself. Or if you do, it's for 5 minutes or a day, not months.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because everybody has their, little moment.
Yeah. Yeah,
you don't linger in that moment.
That's a great way to put it.
Stew over that moment. You just you do it and you get over it.
Right. Have a hissy fit, move on.
Why?
Oh, that's right. Now I know why. Okay, cool. Back to it. I think it's important to do the hard things, which is something we've talked about here. Do hard things and have a track record of doing and accomplishing hard things that you can look back at and go, well, yeah, this sucks, but we made it through this. This is hard, but we did this thing that was also hard. Look at all these things that we've accomplished. Remember that time that we were going to ruck march 12 miles in 3 hours and everybody was like, you can't do it, T, you'll die. And then we did it. Yeah, we can do this too. Or whatever, insert your victory here, but have a conscientious track record of your victories in your mind, and then go find new ones. Yeah. Set big goals, and then force yourself to rise to the occasion of meeting those big goals, because you will grow to fill the void in between you and your ability to achieve the goal. And then you rejoice, and then you celebrate that. You're like, wow, we did this awesome thing. This is cool.
Right.
And then in the moment where you're questioning, oh, what are we going to do now? What's my favorite Mother Teresa quote? We, the willing, have done so much with so little for so long that we can now do anything with nothing. That is in a nutshell. That's right. Like, you send me into the woods with a pick lighter and a pocket knife, and I'm like, cool, see you next fall. So,
Well, because that's the point of kind of preparing, is that when the balloon goes up or whatever happens, that you're already kind of so far detached that it doesn't really bother you.
That's a good point.
And affect you. That's, and goal-wise, that's my goal, is I want to live like that, so that when something does happen, we've already got everything in place. We've already, we already are accustomed to rotating foods. And,
and this is worth talking about. Bear Independent was your branding of what I do. She came up with this. Yeah, because you're awesome. She figured it out. And the concept of independent, that's not an accident. And when I say that our goal is to be so fiercely and wildly independent of the system that when it goes away, somebody has to tell us weeks later and we haven't noticed yet, I know that's a lofty goal, but in here, that's what I want for us and our people and our tribe. That the system is not dependable.
Right.
The system is an anomaly, and it's going to go away, and I will not be caught with my pants down when that happens. I can't do it. And that's, and we've talked in this very spot about the difference between hardship and a hard life, that this is not difficult either. It's just, we make decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, look. This is for shucking corn. Okay? I mean, there's...
That was my great-granddaddy.
That was your great-granddaddy's corn shucker. Yeah. It's in your mitochondrial DNA, So, yeah, getting independent of the system here and here now, that when it goes away, I think that's an excellent point.
Well, and playing through scenarios, we've had to talk with our daughter about, tight lips on what we have and what we're doing. And, you know, basically told her point blank, look, you blabber to your friends. If something happens, your friends are going to say, oh, Cheyenne's parents had da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And guess who's going to come knocking on our door? And they come knocking, well, it's either that we feed them or we feed you.
Right.
And I'm sure that they're not going to take no lightly. So what's going to be the next step? And, you know, for our 12-year-old, that's kind of like, huh? Like, you're going to shoot my friends?
Well, hold on. The way I
Yes,
put that
we are.
the way I put that is, how do I know that this person who's approaching our house is your friend?
True.
So you actually, and see, this is the context to that statement, because we're not just going to go shoot all of our 12-year-old daughter's friends. So the boys, yes, they're dead. They're dead. But the rest of them, they're fine.
There was an 8th grader talking to her.
He's dead. Where is he? He's dead. I'll poke him in the ass with this knife. But what I said is, if they tell their parents, and their parents show up here because some, you know, little girl came over for a sleepover, and Cheyenne's like, look at all this food that we have, or whatever, right? Our OPSEC's better than that, but hypothetically speaking. And then they tell their parents, yeah, they have like literal tons of food. And now there's some guy out on the road or coming through, you know, the fence over here. Give me all your food. Now you put me in a situation where I have to do one of these. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to do that to your friends and your friends' parents. So it's better, you're actually doing them a favor to keep your mouth shut. But yeah, that's an interesting conversation to have with your kids, is in the big scheme of things, you're not helping them by espousing our secrets to them. So we're getting long, so I'm going to hit a couple more things here.
Oh,
you
okay.
chime in if you want.
Sure.
I think it's important to read and know history, and I say that from the standpoint of understanding the depth of humanity and its capacity for atrocity. That again, the anomaly is right now that things are easy and nice and convenient, but that, I feel, will go away, and people will do terrible things to live, to feed themselves, to feed their kids. So being studied up on history, if you're not sure where to start, just the First and Second World War, not necessarily the military actions, but the effects of the military actions on civilians and the fallout from there. Gulag Archipelago is a good book to read. People will do, not maybe, they will do some really messed up stuff. If my kids are starving, which is why we stock food, so that my contribution to society is I don't have to go here. But if my kids were starving, or if you were starving, there is nothing in this world that's going to keep me from seeing you fed. Real talk. Humanity, right? I don't want to go there. I don't want anybody else to have to go there either, but people go there all the time. It happens constantly throughout history. And history is pretty much a story of one group of people killing and oppressing another group of people over and over and over again, which is why we preach positions of strength around here. That you operate from positions of strength so that you can enact your will rather than having somebody else's will enacted upon you. But it's good to understand, historically speaking, what the enaction of that will looks like when people are subjugated. So that at least you're prepared here, if not here. Lastly, I'd say exercise coupled with deep spirituality is a way that I've found for psychological preparedness, because Exercise puts all the good endorphins in your body, releases all kinds of stress, takes care of a whole bunch of things for your body. Couple that with deep spirituality and an abiding faith in the Most High, that it's not that we're saved by the blood of Jesus and everything's going to be fine. It's that I handle the things that I can, the things that I can touch and put my hands on, I'm responsible for, and I handle. The things that I can't, he's responsible for, and he handles. And knowing where that demarcation is, where that line is. These are the things that I'm concerned about. I don't get worried about these things because they're his. And so that, coupled with getting a good sweat on 6 days a week, really for me, as far as psychological preparedness goes, it kind of comes back to the do the hard things. Attack life in such a way that there's nothing left on the playing field. You've given it your all each day, and then you can sleep real easy at night because it's not, well, I could have done this or I should have done that. No, man, I am plumb wore out. I did everything that I could have done today that fulfilled my sense of purpose, right? And that kind of harkens back to the concept of sense of purpose, of know what you're doing and why you're doing it and who you're doing it for. And then everything else should fall in line to that. That's the mission statement for your life. And everything else informs the mission statement. If it doesn't inform the mission statement, it's not pertinent to the mission. So that sense of purpose is a big one, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with. But once you figure that out, that's your jam. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. You do it to your blessing, and you don't do it to your detriment, I believe. Like, if you know what your calling in life is, if the Father reveals that to you, there's only two things that can happen. You either do it or you don't. Yeah. And if you don't do it, you're not living up to your full potential. You're not being fulfilled, and things are not going well for you. If you do it, you are being blessed. You are being provided for. You are being filled up psychologically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and operating from a position of strength. So, you got anything else to add, my love? Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
No.
What about it? Mm-mm. Nuh-uh. Let's do another one.
Okay, you're still going.
I know, I gotta hit the button.
Yeah.
And then, like, this will post on, like, Monday, and then another one will post on Wednesday, and half the people will be like, oh my gosh, they're still sitting there? But not really. No, Patreon is smart enough to figure that out at first glance. YouTube is like, honey, they're still sitting there. They've been sitting there for 42 hours. What's going on? Ain't they got something better to do? I better get in the what are you doing, you lazy bum? You're still sitting there. Why don't you go out and get a job? Shut up, YouTube. All right, anyway, shalom.